Welcome to Navigating Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians, an interactive panel discussion. Fridays at 1 p.m. Brought to you by the Austin Federation of Musicians and with the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee. The Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee are members of the Austin Federation of Musicians, Local 433 of the American Federation of Musicians, aka the Musicians Union. Some of us work as contractor 1099 workers, and others work as employee W-2 workers in various aspects of the music industry.
The goal of this session is to share our experiences, including trials and tribulations related to the Texas Workforce Commission, or TWC, with other musicians in the state of Texas to aid in navigating the TWC application process. We are not experts in unemployment assistance. We are musicians.
The information contained herein does not constitute either legal advice or an official pronouncement or a position of the Austin Federation of Musicians, but rather is only the personal opinions of the panelists. The panelists do not give legal advice or make official rulings on agency matters, should not be cited as authorities in any matter before the agency or when dealing with agency staff about a case, and must minimize their involvement with administrative processes. They also do not give legal advice on any other matter, and any information they should give should not be used as a basis for taking any employment-related action. Before taking any employment action that could adversely affect an employee, or before using any sample form or policy you may obtain from this group, you should consult a licensed private sector employment law attorney of your choice. Okay, welcome back. This is Navigating Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians for April 9th, 2021. The saga continues. Joining me today are Kaz and Floyd. Thank you both for being here. Yeah, we always start with the websites down in the show notes. Those are there if you're just getting started with the TWC or with some sort of unemployment aid. That's where you want to start, right from the horse's mouth. Go to the TWC website, their Facebook page. We have a Local 433 Musicians Unemployment Information Sharing page where we put all the links to the most up-to-date stuff that's relevant to musicians. We have a COVID-19 resources page, and then of course Who Represents Me, which in Texas is wrm.capital.texas.gov, and that's how you can find out who represents you in our state legislature as well as the federal legislature. So we always start with beverages. I'm doing coffee as usual. What are you guys drinking today? Anything interesting?
Plain old green tea.
I left my latte too far away. I'll go get it.
Excellent. Yeah, man. Well, this is the first time we've had you on, Floyd. So thank you for being with us here.
Well, thank you, Aaron. It's good to see Kaz. I haven't seen him for a year now.
Right.
We play gigs together, and we had a fun gig we've done every year for about 32 years or so, and we couldn't do it last year.
Man, oh my goodness. Man, well, we always just kind of start with the latest like news that's related to unemployment. There isn't that much this year, or sorry, not this year. This week rather. But there's the tiny little bit. We've been tracking this thing called mixed earner unemployment compensation, which is like a new thing that went into effect back in January, but it's up to the states to implement it how they can. And Texas has still not really put it into effect here yet. But we do have one of our members, Ms. B. Thank you for keeping up with this, who's really watching it. There is a kind of a national website that's sort of tracking the different states' implementation of this thing, and that's called mixedearners.org. And it does seem to be centered on entertainment workers, which is good for us. But unfortunately, still no news. The news we need is from the TWC itself on how they're going to actually implement this. And this is for people who get a W-2 and get various 1099s, or maybe several W-2s and several 1099s. That messes up how your unemployment is calculated with the TWC, unless you get, as opposed to getting one or the other, rather. So with mixed earners, you really only get like one, but Texas does have a system where they try to compensate for that, so I think that may be why this is taking longer to implement the federal program. And we're also finding out, or we're being reminded that our state government really doesn't have a big problem with leaving federal money on the table sometimes and just not using it at all. So, what this means for us though is it's an extra $100 a week that's put in on top of the $300 from the federal government if you have a mixed income, if you have the W-2 and the 1099s or self-employment income. And I think you have to have made over $5,000 a year in contractor income in the year before you apply. And the way that gets sticky now that we're in 2021 is if you're applying for the first time in 2021, I guess they're going to use 2020 as the basis for that requirement, which of course none of us made any money in 2020 or not very much. But if your claim started in 2020, I think it's much easier. But there's got to be some way that they'll account for that. But we just want to hear from the TWC that they're going to use that program or how they're going to actually implement that program first. So,
Have they given any update about when they're going to institute these changes?
no, only that they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I think it was the beginning of March. There was a like a press conference where they mentioned it, and that they are going to use it, and to wait to see, which happens a lot with the unemployment system here. It's the don't call us, we'll call you answer, right? So, yeah. But that's all I've heard about that. Have you guys heard anything else about that, or any other news? I think most of our brothers and sisters that are on unemployment were able to sort of make it over that hump when they ran out of weeks, and then the weeks were recharged, and now we're good through September or something like that for the regular unemployment. But what we wanted to talk about with Floyd today was a totally different program called the Paycheck Protection Program that businesses have been using, and they used last year. But now we can do it too, right? And do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience, Floyd?
Well, yeah, we all heard about Roots, Chris, and the bigger companies that exploited it, but really the self-employed were given a break in this deal, and it's gotten better. I kept looking for the catch, and it really, there's no catch to it. First of all, unemployment, many of the people who are participating today may have had this experience where they made a little money one week and it kind of knocked out their unemployment or jeopardized it, or they had a, ethical dilemma, whatever, and, well, did I really work, but the PPP doesn't, they don't care. It's what it was. It's a formula and it's gotten better, by the way. So we're in the second round. First round was 2.5 times your monthly net after expenses. In other words, you have your gross. Say if you make $5,000 in a month, and then on your taxes you show $2,000 expenses per month, then it would be 3,000 times 2.5, and what it's meant to do is supplement, is to replace a paycheck for basically about 10 weeks, 10, 11 weeks.
And what months, Floyd? What months do they judge that by? Is it judged by 2020 or?
They judge by 2019.
Oh, 2019.
Yeah, and then what they ask you to do is replace it as a paycheck, and then what you do, and there's a reason I'll tell you in a minute why you do it, as I understand it, is that you pay yourself. What I did was I paid myself every week for 10 weeks. I put it in one account. I had to set up a business account. I've never done things through the business account, just through the personal account. And then I transferred it over every week for 10 weeks. Now, there's a beauty to this, that it's almost like a too good to be true, but it really is true, is that this is a loan, but it's a forgivable loan. And then it gets even better than this. It's not counted as income on your income taxes. So Aaron, you look skeptical.
That sounds good.
And I have a plan right here. No, I know. I feel like I'm a door-to-door salesman on this. For real. You show you do an application. I'll try to get this in a minute, but it's forgivable. It's not counted as income, and it allows you to, if you're teaching lessons or you have a gig here or there, it doesn't. You have to sit there and kind of go, am I really, did I work that week, or can I shove it all into the other week, or any of that stuff? It's there to keep you afloat. Well, now we're into round 2, and I kind of hurt myself, or penalized myself, because I got in early on round 2, and round 2 has gotten better because round 2 started as, and it's been extended, I think, to May 31st, but round 2 started as the formula being the same, is that they look at your 2019 1040 income tax return. They take it not from your gross receipts, but from your income after your expenses. Well, now it's changed. I don't know if it's the exact same formula and percentage. They're looking at your gross receipts. If I'd waited,
Whoa.
I would get even more money. And it is forgivable. So it's an incredible thing, and it's set up well for freelancers, sole proprietors. So now I'm just going to say one more thing about it, which is I've read about a lot of people who have had problems with it. It really depends on who is doing the application for you. And you may have gotten emails. I've gotten plenty of emails like, you're eligible for PPP, sign up. You can do one application. You can't do more than one. You have an official application path by a lender who gets a fee, who gets to process your application.
Is that a bank?
Well, I've seen it as these online capital companies. It's a bank, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, et cetera, et cetera. But I will only say this, I did it through my credit union. And I will say this is, you want your mom, somebody who cares about you like your mom, to do this application for you, because they're the ones that walk you through and process the forgiveness application. And I've got a hunch that there's not any money in that for them. So, they don't have a lot of incentive. So my credit union, can I name them or should I not?
I don't think there's any harm in it.
Okay, UFCU, University Federal Credit Union.
Local, good stuff.
Local. They're great. So I got an email. I got emails from them. I had access to them all the time. They got in touch. They walked me through it. They sent the first application back when I needed to fix something. And there's one woman there who was so nice. Then I just, I know I bugged her and I called her all the time. And then one time I called the toll-free number. I said, I'm not calling her. I'm not going to bother her. I'm just going to go through the toll-free number. Where she answered, I said, I was trying to, give you a break today.
Magic.
Yeah, but anyway, so nice. And then they were very proactive in saying, you are now eligible for the forgiveness. And I got the forgiveness. I got the money. The money was not counted as income. I mean, you just look at it and go, where's the bomb? When's it going to blow up? And it just doesn't.
Floyd, I have 2 questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So now that it's going by gross total income rather than income after deductions, is there a cutoff there now?
A cutoff for
minimum or maximum? In other words, you have to have a certain threshold of gross income in order to qualify?
I don't think there was any minimum at all.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And
but does it still go by the 2.5%?
It's the 2.5 months, so which is like I think 40. Whatever that is, percentage of the.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But of the 12 months, it's really kind of a 20%, I guess.
Got it.
A little over 20%. But that I didn't. I was kind of Googling ahead of time because I just know my experience. I really don't have a lot of expertise in this. And I didn't get to that, and I didn't catch that, so I don't know. But I know it qualifies you for more, for sure.
Right. And then my other question was, so explain the 10-week thing where you have to put,
Oh, so
I mean, I have a business account, which I rarely use, probably
Yeah.
like you. I don't do it. But so
Yeah.
you have to start now. Like if I wanted to apply now, I have to start putting money into that business account.
UFCU said to me, just open up a business account.
Right.
And I said, okay. So I opened one up, and they said the money has to go into that account. Will go into that account. And
You
then
mean the money from the loan?
from the loan? And
Oh,
then,
I see.
And then what they said was, pay yourself on a regular basis because this is paycheck protection.
Got it.
So I kind of went, well, I guess I'm paying myself over 10 weeks.
Right.
And it
Got
comes out to 10 to 11 weeks. And so I paid myself that way. And then when they sent me the application, I downloaded the stuff from their site so I could fill out the forgiveness. It said, show that you paid yourself. So I just said, this week I paid this amount. This week I paid this. I showed
Right.
that I did it as a paycheck.
Out of that PPE money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I keep looking for I mean, I hear of all these resources that are available, and I just think, this thing sounds like it's a pretty good one,
Yeah. Yeah.
And but I will say this is that you also read stories of people who get lost in the ether with banks and big institutions, and they can't go anywhere else because now that bank or whatever is filing for them. They can't just say, you know what, shut it down.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of in the middle of the process. So I would say mine was so positive and easy and smooth because I had an institution that, of course I've been there for decades, but that they were like, we're with you, we're working with you, here it is. And so I think that's the big decision that you make is who you're going to do it through. And if you do it through the right institution, you're gold. And if you don't, you're there going, oh, what is going, I can't get anybody on the phone. What's going on? Nobody's taking responsibility. I always had one person I could call. Even she was not assigned to it. She said, you know what, I'm not assigned to it, but let me call and I'll get back to you. So you want to be somewhere humane where you're valued,
Yeah. Somebody in your corner.
That's the biggie, right?
Yeah.
Well,
that's my experience.
there's also something to be said about doing this at the institution where you do your business banking already, because they already know what usually comes in and goes out.
Right.
So they're going to know if you qualify. And
yeah, and I mean, like you take we still have a family account at Wells Fargo because my mom and dad were there forever, and they both passed, but we still have a few things to settle and all that. Here, now you can steal my identity, please. But but anyway, Wells Fargo. I'm sorry, but that's like they could sell your DNA, and and you find out about it 5 years later.
Yeah.
So just saying,
Yeah. Well, and the most current round, there was something about special consideration given to smaller businesses like us. We're the smallest business you could have, right? One person.
Right, because there was abuse in the first round, and so they tried to fix it in the second round. Yeah.
Let's see. What about how this interacts with if you're receiving unemployment assistance while you're participating in the Paycheck Protection Program? Are you doing that? Do you mind telling us?
I
Floyd?
did not. No.
Okay.
So when unemployment, and I don't know that you can do that because this is income you're getting. I would imagine you can't do it. But when they were, the first Paycheck Protection round started, I was on unemployment. And I could see that I was starting to do some Zoom lessons and stuff like that. And I thought, it kind of knocks me off unemployment, or gets me into a gray area, and this is opening up. And then they were, at that point, you could see unemployment where they were losing the supplement, I think, at one point. So I was right before all that. I just switched over to the PPP, and I just got off unemployment at that point.
It was just easier for you to manage that because it's simpler.
Well, and also, yes, and also it was simpler. But you look at the unemployment, I think that's taxable income, right?
After a certain
Yes.
amount. After a certain amount, they
Okay.
part of
$10,200
Okay, and then
is free money.
it was going down from $600 down to $200 or
Yep.
something.
Yeah.
And I just looked at it and went, okay, PPP, here I come. You know?
Yeah, so in other words, the logic there for you, Floyd, was as you start getting back to work here, that's jeopardizing your unemployment, your weekly
Yeah.
unemployment. Therefore, it makes sense to switch over to the PPE at some point.
It makes complete sense. And also, I started doing gigs a week or two ago, and now I'm starting to do 3, few a week, and
Yeah.
everybody's starting to have this experience. You can still get this PPP money, right?
Right. So
And supplement. It's kind of getting you on the on-ramp back.
So they don't take anything off like unemployment does. They don't take anything off for the weeks that you're working and making some money.
No, they're just saying,
Wow.
Yeah, they're just saying, great.
That's great.
You're getting back to it, and it's a forgivable loan. So, I just did my taxes, and I looked and I went, well, it's not in there as income,
Wow, that's great.
And then I got, through the FCU, I got an email, your loan has been forgiven, the first one.
Wow.
Yeah, so, okay,
Yeah, I think what's required for the forgiveness is just that you have to document that you actually made those payments to yourself from the one account to the other account, right?
Right.
And I did. I went from my business account that we set up into my my personal checking account. Each week I do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Pay yourself.
I pay myself the same amount every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the first round, Floyd, I actually tried to apply, and that was back when they were going by net, and I didn't make enough because I had taken so many deductions off that my total Schedule C business income was low enough at the end of the day to where I couldn't qualify for the loan.
Well,
but you're saying that's changed.
That's changed.
It
changed after I applied in the second round. I got in there very early, but they said, gee, now you could even I could have gotten more.
Wow.
I can't go back, but I could have gotten more.
Interesting.
I would say this is the year that everybody said, God, I should have declared all that club gigs.
Yeah, right.
All that cash.
Yeah, right.
Wow. But no, I mean, it would have been even better. So it's gotten better.
Right. Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, and that, the repayment thing, when you make the payments to yourself, that's another way it's good to do this at an institution that you normally bank with, because then they have all those records too of all those transfers from when you go for the forgiveness. And then,
yeah, and I was wondering today, because I do get these emails, PPP apply from companies I've never heard of, just who knows who they are, and I'm sure they're authorized to do it. But do they have incentive to do the forgiveness application for you? And they may not. And, try to get in touch with a nameless, faceless, person at a phone bank who doesn't have an incentive, to do this, other than, as opposed to if you've had a relationship in town for several years at a bank or better yet, a credit union. So I think that's the way to go.
Yeah. Right on. Well, thank you for talking about that, man.
Yeah, very cool.
I love to hear my own voice.
Man.
Thank you.
You mean even for free?
Oh.
I don't care. I'll pay you.
Don't tell them nothing.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, yeah, and I think if you were someone who was on the unemployment system and then you got into this system, as long as you declared what you were paying yourself on the unemployment, maybe it would disqualify you for those weeks, but then you would have those weeks at the end.
Yeah, that may be a way to go. And for me, it was. I mean, I can see now that. And I might have done that last year, but now I can see myself ramping back up and it being like, well, unemployment is just is moot, which is easier for
Right,
me.
right.
Now everybody's different. You're right, Aaron.
Yeah.
It may, for some people may go, I'll do this, then I'll go back to the unemployment. That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it might be an option to just stay in that system and just report.
Well,
be
because
reported.
we don't know how things are going to go. I mean,
Well, it's true. I mean,
You
I'm
know.
the optimist of, we're coming out of it.
Yeah.
But it's not resolved yet. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it is looking better, and it's looking more hopeful. Thank goodness for the weather we have down here. We can do all these outdoor things, and
Yeah, there's a lot more outdoor things. And then my first gig back was in a Sleep at the Wheel Pops concert in Irving. And I had talked to Aaron about that. And it was interesting. The wind players were behind plexiglass and the string players were masked, and everybody got temperature checks coming in. And, but I noticed that when I'm around a band, and we're all in a lot of band situations, I don't know if you've had this experience, Gaz, where people start with the masks and the masks kind of come off.
yeah.
They kind of feel like, oh, we're our own pod, and you're like,
Well, I mean, the singers and the horn players can't wear them anyway, so that's
can't wear
sometimes half the band or more, right?
right. But
You
I
know.
mean, like on the bus, you see everybody starts with the mask.
Oh,
and
yeah,
soon
yeah.
the mask comes off.
or it drifts downward.
Yeah.
Or or the under the nose, But anyway, it's hopefully we're all can get vaccinated. So
Yeah.
There seems to be a pretty high enthusiasm for that amongst musicians. At least from what I've seen. Have you guys experienced that?
yeah, that's, we have
Yeah.
some political fault lines and some paranoia.
Yeah, I know a few who don't want to have anything to do with the
We
vaccinations.
both know people, and
No.
I'm going to just start asking people. Do you mind being an asymptomatic spreader? Because people don't know. They can say, well, I don't have it, and I've been careful, but it doesn't mean you can't spread it to somebody without even knowing it.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually still important to get tested. I mean, if you can get tested once a week or something, great.
Yeah.
Because that helps to insulate you and protect the people that you're around if you're not wearing a mask, if you're in a situation where you can't wear a mask.
Right.
So I think I would encourage people to still get tested when you can.
Yeah.
It's easy and cheap now.
It is.
Yeah, you drive through most of the time now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, and then I've been vaccinated, and I think we all have here, but people say to me how, people worried about the side effects of the second shot. And for the most part, for most people, it's so mild. And it's like a very mild achiness. Well, I had a little fever, but I have a lot of women friends, and I tell them, who have children, I said, did you give birth? I said, well, you gave birth. I think,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot, I think you can handle the second shot.
Well, I don't know, because my son, after the second shot, well, no, I'm sorry, he had the single shot, the Johnson & Johnson.
Oh,
He said he was sicker than he had ever been in his life.
oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah,
'Cause
after
I
that. He was sick for a day and a half, terrible flu symptoms, couldn't sleep.
So
Chills.
younger people have, their immune system is more activated, I guess. And,
Maybe so, yeah.
yeah.
Ours is dying out.
And the J&J's all at once too.
Yeah,
It
right.
was a lot easier than the power and the water going out. that was a lot harder on me than the COVID shot.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, what you're saying, Floyd, about the orchestras, I mean, that's such a great thing that we have solidarity with those musicians, because those institutions are able to implement all that stuff, with the boop, the temperature check and all the the required testing, and they can show that the rates of transmission in those big groups is almost nothing. They're
nothing.
really holding
Yeah.
it off. It can be done if you do it smart, and we can get back to music performance as long as people act right. And,
Yeah. And now it's getting warmer, and there's some more outdoor things and distance things, and I'm so glad there's some restaurants that are like eager to have music back. And I played at the airport, and I mean, people will probably get over it, but they were very appreciative. They realize what they've been missing, and they're people. You're playing at the airport usually a solo. It's usually kind of like, late for my flight, see you later. But everyone, thank you, And
Yeah.
so people are appreciating it now. We need to take it, strike while the iron's hot on that.
Yeah.
That people realize what they've been missing. So.
Yeah. Get back to the live thing, the genuine article. When all the music you've had for a year is on these things.
Yeah, yuck.
It really hits them. It hits them in the chest when they hear a real person doing it.
And it hits you as a performer too. You're not there watching the game on the TV. You're there. You're there. Go, wow! I'm playing music for everybody.
Yeah, what a great feeling. Yeah. What a great feeling to be playing for people again.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I think that's all the topics we've got to discuss today. Mark, if you would hang around on the call for just a minute after we wrap up,
okay.
I wanted to help talk to you with something. But were there any other topics you guys wanted to bring up?
Well, I just had a kind of a happy story. Not a musician, but I have a friend who had her own business and, struggling, lost her business because of the pandemic. And she was collecting unemployment and for 3 or 4 months. And then suddenly she got a letter from TWC saying, sorry, we're cutting you off and you have to pay back some money.
Oh my God.
And this was out of the clear blue. And it turned out that it was based on literally a mistake. And she fought it and she appealed it and she got absolutely nowhere. And, she told me about this and I said, well, try my friend Frances Brown, which I'd mentioned her name before. And I gave my friend Frances Brown's email, and literally within a day, her problems were cleared up and she was getting money again.
Now, who is that, Mark?
Well, she's
Frances. I mean, who's Frances Brown?
She works for TWC,
Okay.
and as I understand it, she's here in Austin.
Ah.
And so I don't even remember how I got her email. It was months ago, but she helped me back a year ago in March or April when I was first getting, applications and stuff done. She helped me out. And since then, in those weird weeks where I apply and I get nothing from TWC, I send her a little email saying, hey, after a week waiting, where's my money? Give me my check, right? And I get nothing. And I send Frances an email and literally within a day, the money's in my bank account.
Huh.
So, like Floyd was saying earlier, having that magic person anywhere in your bank and TWC, gosh, it can make such a difference. Anyway, I thought that was a wonderful story that, my friend she'd basically given up and she was, in a bad spot. And then all of a sudden she's getting money back to December.
So that's a great story. And it's a great point, as you say, having that magic person or the place that has that kind of corporate culture. If you don't have the one person say, I've got to go to a place where I know they care about the customer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or they say they care, but then nothing happens.
Well, I already mentioned Wells Fargo.
Yeah, well, I can.
No, but I mean, where they really do. I mean,
Yeah.
Where somebody actually does something.
Yeah, where you've really seen proof of that they operate that way. You're right.
Yeah.
But having that one person, because I just think of the forgiveness. I thought they said, forgiveness is coming up. We'll let you know. And then I got the email. Okay, here's your forgiveness stuff. And then how's it going with it? And get it into us. And we'll let you know if everything's okay before we send it in.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
That's the difference between me having to pay the PPP back or not having to pay it back.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
it is important to remember, though, with TWC, of course, we're not customers. They're serving us as citizens, but it's not that kind of a business. And
No,
a lot of
not at
times
all.
you have to find the person who even is empowered to solve the problem that you have, and that's incredibly difficult. Mark, of course, did this time last year. You did an incredible amount of research and social engineering and phone engineering and all kinds of stuff.
And also I just got lucky. I mean, that's, when you're dealing with a huge business like TWC, I mean, you can spend hours on the phone getting nowhere, getting literally nowhere.
No, I remember all the calls. There was a point at which I remember calling them and they would go to busy, right?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
I remember that. and there were people that said, "Oh, that's my job. About 4 hours ago, I call them."
Yeah, right. And never get anywhere.
Get through on the website, and I remember it took forever.
Yeah. So finding a way into the TWC to get a call out from there to yourself is kind of the way we've been able to get help to people. But yeah, it's wild. Yeah. And we
don't get discouraged. I would just say to people, because my daughter and I have been successful getting vaccine appointments for people, and people say, and I shouldn't have said that probably, but anyway, but people say, how do you do it? Who do you know? I said, we're maniacal. We don't.
Yeah. And you get lucky too.
Yeah. We just keep going and
keep working at it.
You got to be relentless, and it's a tough thing in what we do, because you're isolated anyway, and you can get shaken, but don't just keep at it.
Well, and that's not out of the ordinary in our business. I mean, none of us would still be in this business if we weren't tenacious and not willing to, concede.
You get stomped on repeatedly.
Yep. It never stops. All
Can
right.
I watch?
Yeah. How much you got? Yeah.
You've seen it. What are you talking about?
Yeah, right. I've seen it for years. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there.
Okay.
You as the viewer, of course, we always end with that same message that Floyd just said. Don't give up, because there is help out there. You can find it. We can find it together with solidarity. We're going to get through this. Join the union when you can, and yes, we will play music again. We have to, because the country is counting on us to do so, and the whole world really is counting on the United States to supply the music that we have for so long. So, yeah, don't give up, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Thank you, Floyd.
Right. Thank you, Chaos, and thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you guys. Take care.